Right, so here are Mel's top 10 2021 games of the year. So there's going to be some rules to this. It will mainly be games that released in 2021. I may break the rules slightly for games that came out in very late 2020. You might notice that at least a couple times as I go through the list. But it's mainly going to be games that I played in 2021. That's going to be the qualifier. If I didn't play it in 2021 and I didn't, finish it in 2021, then I guess I wouldn't count it. So yeah, that's kind of obvious, but that's like the main rules for that. But yeah, I was thinking about this for a while. I was compiling my list and I was looking back at the games I played this past year. You know what's funny about looking back at the games you played in the last year? Like sometimes you forget that certain games even came out that year. And you're like, oh that's right, that game came out in this year. So yeah, let me just quickly set up the music because I've got some accompanying music for this. Also, I'm going to have to turn the volume down because this might be loud. Right, okay, so here we go. Right, there we go. So, here's my number 10, like barely making 10. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. This is a Switch port of the Wii U game, which I played before. Great game, Mario 3D Worlds. The reason I put this on the list wasn't for that, because that's an old game. I put this on the list for Bowser's Fury, which is a really fucking good, like, open world experiment from Nintendo. I kinda like what they did with this idea. And I would like to see them, like, expand on this concept in a future Mario game. It's kinda like Mario Odyssey in the sense that it's more open-ended, but it really is open and not like, just a giant level. Because you like go from island to island, you like swim on Plessy's back, and you're like, every island you go to is like got 20 puzzles on it, and it's great. It's like basically non-stop, like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like non-stop dopamine. And then like the best part about it is like every once in a while, like Bowser's Fury form comes out to fuck up your shit when you're like in the middle of trying to get one of the cat shines. I really enjoyed this a lot. It's like a very condensed experience, but it's so much fun, and it was definitely worth checking out, so yeah. In particular, Bowser's Fury is what's on this list, but, it's part of the whole package, which is why the whole name is there. So, I really like this. Oh, hey there, MSP. Yeah, long time no see. It's nice to see you. Right, so that was number 10. Let me just get the music for number 9, because I've got music for everything. Right, so number 9, WarioWare Get It Together. I'm kind of glad that in the year of 2021 that we're still getting a WarioWare game, because I thought Nintendo was done with this, but no, they brought out a new one, and it was actually kind of cool. I quite enjoyed that one. Wish I played a bit more of it, though. Like, I only played, like, 2 or 3 streams of it. But I quite like the concept where it's like you get to play as the individual characters and like move them around and shit, because it basically makes all the mini-games much more replayable, because every character plays differently and each one has their own way of like dealing with the the problem and like getting to the solution. So I thought that was a lot of cool stuff. And then there was like end-game, like post-game content where you like feed characters to like get extra goodies. I didn't really spend a whole lot of time on that, but apparently that was also a pretty good part of the game. But I did briefly check that out, and I liked that as well. But yeah, I would say, if you're a fan of WarioWare, I would recommend this. It's still a bit, a pricey game. It's not like $60, it's more like $40, which is, a lot for a game of that kind. But if you enjoy, like, quirky, fast-paced, like, do this stuff now in, like, 3 seconds kind of action, then I would recommend it. Alright, number 8. This one is going to surprise a lot of people, because if you know me, you would think this would be much higher on the list. Number 8 is No More Heroes 3. I honestly expected this to be much higher on the list, but there was a lot of really good games that came out for me in 2021. Don't get me wrong, I still really enjoyed this. This was great. But yeah, there was a lot of great stuff that I would say were even higher on the list. Why is this relatively low on the list? I loved it. but I feel like it was more of the same and didn't really do too much like to differentiate itself from the first game. That said, it did introduce some new mechanics. I like the, you know, the counter system. Like, it felt much better than how the first game handled it. And as you can hear right now, the music is pretty good. Like, the music's always been good, but yeah, it continues to be really, like, addicting to listen to. And again, Suda51 being the mad lad that he is, did some really cool, like, you know, experimental shit. Like, that's what I love about No More Heroes. It's like balls to the wall action. One of the things that I've heard a lot of people criticize about, and I kind of feel the same way, is the overworlds, the visuals were kind of shit. Like, everything was like smeared in Vaseline, especially when you get to, what was that one world that was like themed after Call of Duty? Call of Honor or something? I forgot, but it was like, basically it was like, I played it on a small monitor, but even then I could tell that it was like kind of like very muddy and really, like, they definitely didn't put much of the time in the overworlds. Like, they spent all the time polishing the action, the combat, which, you know what, I'm fine with that. Because the combat was like 60 frames per second, it did not drop a single beat, and it was really responsive and fun. But yeah, even though this is kind of low on the list, I would still highly recommend it. I would still say No More Heroes 1 is my favourite game of the trilogy, but I would put this as my second favourite, and then No More Heroes 2 being like my third favourite. So there you go. At least it's got that going for it. Number 7, this was kind of a surprise, new Pokemon Snap. I quite enjoyed this one a lot. Still not fond of the name, no. Like, I complained about this like countless times when I streamed the game, like, why was it called New Pokemon Snap? Just call it Pokemon Snap 2, it's that simple. But yeah, it's essentially, you know, a follow-up to a game that came out over like 20 years ago, and they added a lot of new Pokemon and a lot of new mechanics. I really enjoyed myself, and there was like, I think, some free DLC content that came out like a month later. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I don't think we're going to get another Pokemon Snap anytime soon. I think this is just one of those if they once in a blue moon kind of things, where it's like maybe we'll see this like every 2 to 3 generations or so. But you know what, I'm glad that, you know, the original game had enough of a cult following that the Pokemon company was like, you know what? We haven't done this for a while, let's bring it back, and let's get, you know, a competent... Not to say that, you know, Game Freak's incompetent, like, that's kind of an easy criticism. But it was nice that they outsourced it to Bandai Namco, because they did a really good job, like, you know, with this game in general. Like, the engine is really good, it runs at 60 frames per second, the lighting is gorgeous, the environment's really nice. You can tell there was a lot of effort, love and attention and care put into this game. And even though I still sucked at the game, I really enjoyed it. You know what's funny about this game, actually? I didn't learn about this until I beat the game. Like, I learned that you could use the D-pad to, like, quick turn left and right in the game to, like, you know, quickly snap 90 degrees, like, to the sides, or, like, press down to, like, look behind you. I didn't know you could fucking do that. The game didn't tell me, or at least I don't remember it telling me that, but I didn't learn about that until after I'd beaten the game. If I'd known about that earlier, that would have been very helpful, but even without it, I still really enjoyed this. How can you tell if it's new if they didn't add new? Yeah, I don't like this trend that Nintendo's been doing for a while of just putting new in front of, like, game names, because I feel like that ironically just ages them more quickly. But yeah, that aside. Number 6, Blaster Master 03. I completely forgot this game even came out last year, but I looked back and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, this game did come out in 2021. So yeah, this is the finale, I would say, to a really incredibly solid line of, like, trilogy action adventure games. And it's a really fucking good note to go out on, because it adds even more mechanics on top of what Blaster Master 02 did. Like, Blaster Master 01 did the bare minimum. It was still really fun, but it was like the bare minimum like for a reboot of Blaster Master. Then the second game added like so much shit, and it was really fucking good. It was like night and day how good it was compared to the first one. This game adds even more on top of that, and it's even more insane. Like the gravity, not the gravity thing, what do you call it? The dimensional shift mechanic alone is what makes this worth playing. If you played the first two, I would highly recommend this. If you've never played the Blaster Master games, I would recommend getting all three of them, because they're not that expensive. They're like, what, $10 each? And they're usually on sale frequently, so next time, like, if you don't feel like buying them at full price, wait until like the spring sale or something and buy all three. I think you would find them thoroughly enjoyable. They're all really good. I don't know if they'll ever do a Blaster Master 04. Like, they kind of leave the gate open for a potential fourth game, but I think this is the last, because it feels like the third game had, even though like the story kind of leaves it open for a potential future installment, I think there was this like sense of like grandiose and finale to the third game. Without going into too much, you know, spoiler territory, it did feel like it was, you know, leading up to the end of like a very long and winding story, which, yeah, you wouldn't expect a game like this to have like really good story, but it does. But if they do another Blaster Master game, I would welcome it. Maybe they'll just like do another like trilogy, like separate from this. Like just call it Blaster Master Alpha 1 or something like that, I don't know. This was another surprise game that came out last year that I was not expecting, Deltarune Chapter 2, which, yeah, technically it's a smaller part of a bigger game, but it was just enough to feel like a game in its own right. I really enjoyed this. I'm glad that I played this game when I did, because I knew the internet was going to go absolutely ballistic for this. Because as soon as the game came out, I was like, okay, I'm going to stream this whole thing in like 2 streams in the first 2 days. Because if I didn't, I bet I would get spoiled the fuck out of it, and I was kind of right to make that call. So yeah, it's more, you know, Toby Fox, like, indie, like, quirky humour, action RPG goodness. That's all you need to know, really. Characters continue to be really good, and Spamton, like, I know Spamton is, like, all over the internet, but he really is a really fun character. Now's your chance to be a big shot. I look forward to what Deltarune brings for the future. Without giving too much away, like, the ending of Chapter 2 was really surprising. So whenever Chapter 3 comes out, maybe it'll be in the next couple years, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Right, number 4, Mario Party Superstars. I wish I spent a bit more time with this game. Like, there was just not enough, like, time last year to, like, find, you know, friends to like play with this, because everybody was like busy toward the end of the year. But you know what? With the times I did play with this, like just being able to play a Mario Party game online and not have it suck, I really enjoyed this. It was a good game. I do plan to do more Mario Party streams in the future as soon as I can, you know, get together a few people to like play it with. But if you like Mario Party, like more traditional Mario Party, then yeah, highly recommended. I don't have much to say about it because, you know, it's Mario Party. You don't really need to go into the details, but again, it's weird that it took this long for Nintendo to include online, but they did it, and it doesn't suck, and I feel like all future Mario Party games now are going to have online, so you know what, even if like future Mario Party games suck, at least we'll be able to play them together online in this like post-pandemic age. Right, so this game I'm putting in is a bit of a cheat. This game technically didn't release in 2021, but I did play it in 2021, and it came out very late in 2020 that I was like, you know what, fuck it, I love this game a lot, I'm putting it in the list. So, I almost didn't play this game this year, but I saw it on sale, like, earlier this year. Like, I think it was like during the Halloween sale or something that I bought it. And I played the demo of it, and it's really fucking good. Like, you can hear the music. It's like it's basically like a musical platformer, or a rhythm platform. I think that's what the terminology is. Story's good, characters are great, art style fantastic, and I'm really bad at describing shit on the fly. But if you want to see more of this, like, I would recommend you watch me play the demo of it at the very least, because I did put the demo playthrough on YouTube. And if you liked it, pick it up, and if you're not into this kind of game, then you can watch the rest of my playthrough on YouTube as well. Like, it's all there. So yeah, this was a game that I... Once it, like, again, showing the limitations of my vocabulary here, I really enjoyed this game. Like, I enjoy. But yeah, it was good. And the music is fantastic. I've listened to the music quite a lot. Do I have anything else to add on top of this? Not really. I mean, I pretty much explained why I liked it. Right, here's another bit of a cheat as well. This game came out in December 2020, but I did play a shit ton of it, and this game kind of spilled into 2021, so you know what? I'm counting it, because Ubisoft tends to not make a lot of very high quality games, but I feel like this is the exception to the rule. And yeah, like, the elephant in the room with this game, it's like a Breath of the Wild clone, but then you actually play the game and you learn there's actually a lot more to it. So it's like an open world action adventure game with Greek mythology, which I really like when games do Greek mythology stuff, because that's always a lot of fun, in my opinion. But yeah, this game has a lot of really cool mechanics. I love the combat system and the skill tree and how you like level up and like make progression as you explore the worlds. And another thing that Ubisoft is infamous for is making open worlds that either have like too much stuff or very little like things of interest that you actually want to do. Like, they just oversaturate the world with like pointless like busy work. This game's open world actually felt like everything you wanted to do. Like, you didn't want to avoid anything. Like, I forgot how much hours I put into this game, but it was a lot. And you know what the funny thing is? You might see me play this game again very soon, because I ended up buying the season pass during the winter sale, because it was like heavily discounted. It's been a while since I played. Like, when did I last play this? It was like March of last year or something. War nipples, yeah, that's right. That was one of my favourite moments from last year. Just the fucking... I forgot the guy's name, like one of the gods, just saying that. The God of War. Which is not to be confused with a video game of the same name. But yeah, I think I will eventually stream the DLC content, because I picked up the season pass, which is like 3 more like expansions, like self-contained stories. So eventually I'm going to get back into this, and you'll probably see like future streams of the season pass content later this year. Right, so you can probably figure out, like, based on the games that I've shown already, you can probably figure out which game I probably put at number 1. Can you guess? Can you figure out which game is at number 1? I think I'm very predictable. Any guesses? Anyone? I don't know if anyone, like, I don't know how you can't think of one. Right, okay, well, if you can't think of it, I guess I'll just show you my number 1 game of the year. Right, number 1 game is Pikmin Bloom. Pikmin Bloom is... it's a game. No, I'm just kidding, this is not the number 1. This is number 1. Right, okay, so I think most people kind of saw this one coming. At least if you know me, then you know how much I absolutely adored this game. I'm glad that we got, again in 2021, we got like a modern Metroid game, and it doesn't suck. And holy shit, this game's so fucking good. What's the name of the company? Mercury Steam? Like, I'm glad that they were basically tasked with like making the next entry to the Metroid franchise after laying dormant for the better part of like 2 decades. Like, when did Metroid Fusion come out? Like 2003 or something? Yeah, it was like almost 20 years ago. So, Metroid Dread, as we all know, was a game that was long rumoured to have existed like many, many moons ago. It was going to be a DS game apparently. It was like the sequel to Metroid Fusion. And then for the longest time we heard nothing of it. Like, apparently the game was internally scrapped. Like, the director, of which name I can't remember right now, was not able to like create his like true vision with the limited hardware of the DS. And eventually we ended up getting Metroid Samus Returns on the 3DS, also made by Mercury Steam. And I guess that was kind of like a testing ground for them to like make the next true Metroid game, because a couple years after that we get Metroid Dread, and I love this game so much. Like, if you want to hear me gush about this game more, then you're welcome to watch the playthrough of it. But basically, it's everything I wanted in the Metroid game plus more. Like, it's got so much attention to detail. The gameplay is top notch. It's probably the best controlling 2D Metroid game ever made. And having recently replayed Super Metroid myself, I know this is going to upset a lot of people when I say this, but I feel like that game's controls are a little bit aged and clunky nowadays. But yeah, this game is pretty much like perfection in my eyes. Like, I think this is my new favourite Metroid game now. Like, for the longest time, you know, I was like a fan of Metroid Fusion, but I think this tops it by quite a margin. I don't want to get too much into it, but yeah, the Emmy were also a really fun part of the game. And the story is also pretty good. The ending's kind of weirdly paced, because it kind of ends... Like, I don't want to like go into story details, but I feel like they could have done more with the ending. That was like the only thing that bothered me a little bit. But I think this game is amazing, and I would love to see more 2D Metroids in the future. Hopefully we'll get another one at some point. Like, Nintendo should just like buy Mercury Steam, because I think they've proven to be a really good developer for like Metroidvania style games. So yeah, that's my true number one, Metroid Dread. And that pretty much concludes my top 10. My shitty top 10 where I don't have a script and I'm just like, you know, stammering and stuttering on my words, like tripping over them, trying to explain why I like the video games that I like. Oh, number 5 is a Mario Party because I like the dice roll and it's a good game. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. That was just something I wanted to do real quick. Oh, don't mind that, that's the capture card. So yeah. I know it's going to be a while before we get Metroid Prime 4. I don't think that's coming out till at the earliest 2023, but even then that feels like it's still a bit early. You have to remember, Metroid Prime 4 restarted development, so realistically, I don't think we'll see that until at least 2024, so we're still a ways off from that one. In the meantime though, it would be cool if they made more 2D Metroids, you know, to close the gap. It would be nice, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. At the very least, I feel like that Mercury Steam can do more 2D Metroids. I think the 2D side of the franchise is in good hands with them. So yeah, Nintendo, if you're listening, I know you're not, but if you're listening, you know, keep them around. They're a good, valuable asset for Metroid.